Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and even good night to our participants from all the way from New Zealand. Welcome to the QING Innovation Track Finals. It's a student competition on climate adaptation in food systems, and it all started actually in July of this year when 35 teams from all over the world applied to become one of the 5 selected teams in the QING Innovation Track. The selected teams are from Kenya, from Peru, New Zealand and Nepal. So warm welcome to the teams. There are mentors from QING present, the jury is present, and of course we also want to welcome the panel and our other distinguished guests. The 5 teams started in July. They received 2,500 euros straight away to start their project, plus a mentorship from QING, the company that sponsors this competition. It's a tech company from the Netherlands. And well, we are very happy to tell you that today we will share the results of the five teams. I'm your host today. My name is Mirjam Troost. I'm the coordinator of the WRS Student Challenges at Wageningen University and Research. I will not be alone in hosting and moderating because I have 2 very wonderful young persons also here. They are from our partner youth network teams. So there's Thomas Westhoff. He's a student at Wageningen University, but also Vice President of External Relations of IAS. And we have Clark Halpern here. He's doing his PhD at Wageningen University, and he's also liaison officer to CSAYN. So what are we going to do today? The program is that we will get a short introduction by Ivo Demmers. He's one of our jury members. And then the real work starts. We will hear from all the teams. They all have 10 minutes. We start with Agrican Cloud from Kenya. And then we will have Higher Himalaya from Nepal. Then the Melt, New Zealand. Hydropan, also from Kenya. And then Berrybot of Peru. They will end the session. Then we'll have a short break at 4 o'clock. And then make sure you'll be back at 4:10, because then we will have a very interesting panel discussion about hurdles and future opportunities for these teams, because we don't want it to end after these finals. Let me end by introducing you to the QING mentors. Some of them, they are here. Martin Ruiter from Team The Melt. Lars, welcome from Team Agrican Cloud. Tanika has a double role. She's been mentoring the Higher Himalaya team and also the Hydropan team. And then we have Peter Aliven. It's a bit difficult in English. He was mentoring the team Berrybot. And well, last but not least, of course, the jury. We have Danush Dinesh. He's head of partnership and outreach at CCAPS. Bram de Vrucht, business manager at QING. And then Ivo Demmers, head of program food security and valuing water at Wageningen University. And by this, I want to give the floor to Ivo Demmers. He will tell you a little bit more background on climate adaptation in food systems. Thank you.
Thank you, Mirjam. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to all the youth and experts around the world in this remarkably important year. It started, of course, in January with the climate summit in the Netherlands. But just tomorrow, we see the food system summit coming our way, just followed after a week of the pre-COP meeting in Milan, and then followed by the COP on climate, the COP on biodiversity, and even the food and nutrition conference of parties in December. So this is a very important year for food systems, for climate, biodiversity. And I'm happy to have so many youth also thinking ahead with us. I'll come back to that later. We're taking here a food system perspective to climate and food. And that means that we're not looking for one silver bullet. We're looking for multiple actions that we can take. And that's necessary. It's necessary to improve our outcomes, which should be healthy, not only for people, but also for our planet, and healthy for the people who work in our food systems. Think of the farmers and the equitable distribution of cost and revenues over the entire value chain. Talking about climate, the challenge is twofold. It's about adaptation and it's about mitigation. we have to do both in agriculture. If you think that agriculture is contributing 30% of global greenhouse gas emissions, and a lot of the burdens of climate change will end up in the agricultural sector. Think of heat stress, droughts, etc. And we'll hear about that later in the magnificent movies that will present to us. To have a successful approach, we must innovate and we must bridge the gap between science, policy, and practice. It's not only about agricultural measures. We also look to the digital world around us. How can that help? How can biotechnology help in solving our issues? And last but not least, it's also about investments. How can we de-risk the investments of private and public parties in our food systems? Well, having said that, I'll step to the competition we have today with our jury. Thanks for introducing them, Miriam. We look to two things. First, we look at the vlogs you will be presenting to us. And there we look for a creative, engaging, and inspiring vlog submission. And yes, we got a sneak preview already. And I can tell you they are creative, engaging, and inspiring. But next to that, the teams also handed in a project summary, and there we look at 5 things. The level of progress that has been made since July 15, when the projects started, and the level of innovation, feasibility, also scalability, and sustainability. And I'm reaching the end of my contribution here. I want to stress the importance of youth. Worldwide, 30% of the population is under 20, but specifically in Africa, 50% of population is under 20. So it's youth that has the future. And today, we will listen to you and think ahead with you. So that's also my call to the audience here. Think with the teams and try to answer their questions. And also after this meeting, please be available and help them in reaching not only their dreams, but also our solutions that are needed for the future. So let's look, think along, and enjoy our meeting today. And with that, I would like to hand over to Thomas.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ivo. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everyone. I'm Thomas Westhoff. I'm the Vice President of External Relations of EIS, and I will be the moderator of this first part. Let me share with you the ground rules of today. As you can see, this is the schedule we have for the first round, and with all the teams presenting their work. I will first show a 3-minute vlog, which all the teams made by themselves. And then the teams have 3 minutes of presentation where they also will share their screen to be able to give a short summary about their project. And then it's time for the jury to ask questions to the teams, and that will take around 4 minutes. There's also a possibility for you as audience to ask your questions. So please feel free to send those in the chat, and the teams themselves can respond on those. But if they are really interesting, there will also be an opportunity by the jury to ask them if they don't have any questions left, of course. All right, then I would like to introduce the first team, which is AgriGeng Cloud from Kenya. They created an interesting app to prevent food loss and food waste, where they will explain everything about in the video I will now share with you.
In Aotearoa, New Zealand, dairy is a major industry.
Excuse me, that's the wrong one.
What comes into your mind when you think about climate change in our food systems? Let me guess, you're probably thinking about the impact on food production, weather patterns, planting, gardens, trees, and food production in general. And you're right. But did you know that food losses and waste also contribute to climate change? According to FAO, Global food losses and waste contribute to about 8% of total anthropogenic greenhouse emissions. In fact, if food losses alone were to form a country, it would be the third largest global emitter. The situation is worse in Africa, which experiences food and post-harvesting losses that are sometimes upwards of 40% of the initial harvest. The problem is complex, but the solutions do not have to be as complicated. Solar drying is an ancient and effective means of reducing post-harvesting food losses that is applicable to Africa, where the weather allows for the same. Drying technologies can reduce moisture content in crops to the desired levels, reducing food and post-harvesting losses, while simultaneously reducing greenhouse emissions and combating climate change. To construct such structures, one needs proper contextual information, including the mass of produce to dry, initial and final moisture contents, wind speeds, temperatures, and solar radiation data. To make this work easier for you, we have developed an app that allows you to capture all this contextual information and to generate a well-informed engineering design that will ensure your solar dryers delivers as expected. Using the app is simple. Visit our website, www.agric-eng.cloud, and go to the Apps tab. Select QING Innovation Track. Choose the type of crop you intend to dry. Next, type in your nearest location. Lastly, click on the Design Dryer option. The app will generate for you two designs, a simple one and an improved one. At the bottom of the page, select your most preferred option, and the app will generate a design report in the form of a PDF document. The report will give you the dimensions of your dryer, examples of similar dryers constructed elsewhere, design variations that you can adopt, and the engineering data required to complete the design. With the information, you can construct the structures, addressing food losses and combating climate change at the same time. To scale up, we have targeted tech-savvy African youth with tremendous potential to address the problems facing our generation. In our first rollout, we'll partner with the Bavosa, an organization under UNOP that supports the youth to construct solar dryers for their local communities. With the app, the youth will feed in basic information and the app will generate appropriate designs. Other organizations that we have reached out to include the Kenya Climate Innovation Center, the Climate Youth Association Network, and 8 Billion Trees. With their support, we hope to not just scale the app, but also ensure it is sustainable. 8 Billion Trees, a carbon offset company, has already agreed to help us maneuver the carbon trading market, which we consider a possible source of finance to expand the scope of the app and to cover its maintenance costs. We are doing our part. Our challenge to you is, what are you doing to address climate change in our food systems?
That was the video of Agri-Eng Cloud. Thank you very much for creating this beautiful video. I would like to give the floor now to Agri-Eng Cloud themselves to briefly in 3 minutes give the project summary.
I hope you can all see my screen.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay. So very quickly, coming into this competition, what problem are we dealing with? And the problem we're dealing with was food and post-harvesting losses, which increase global greenhouse emission, leading to climate change. And the solution to that problem, generally in Africa, is to construct solar dryers, which have been proven to reduce food and post-harvesting losses. The challenge is that for you to do that, you require design information, the mass of the crop, weather data, and all that. And most people do not have the skill set, to process that kind of information. And so our solution to that problem was to develop a solar drying app. The solar drying app would capture all the contextual information, the design information that require, and give you a design. So coming into this competition, just a second. So coming into this competition, we had already developed a prototype. The prototypes worked for only cassavas, and also farmers had to input a lot of technical information. As you can see, you had to input the weather data, the wind speed of your area, the initial and final moisture content. And what we promised to the financing is you're going to expand the scope of the app to include all types of crops and to ensure that farmers do not have to input a lot of technical data, which is complex. Now the competition is over, and this is the new version of that application. As you can see, All you need to do is select the type of crop from a database of over 50 crops that we've created. You just type in your nearest location and the app will capture all the necessary weather data and contextual information. Next, you input the mass of the produce that you intend to dry, and the app is going to give you an appropriate design. So in short, we expanded the scope of the app to include other dryers, and also we ensured that farmers will no longer have to input technical information. So how did we do it? First of all, QING Innovation was very helpful for us, and we are grateful. They gave us the finance to expand the scope of the app and to incorporate weather APIs that integrated all this information into a design. They also gave us our mentor, Laz, who was very instrumental in giving us the broad perspective of things. When you're engineers and developers, you tend to think about the micro details, but Laz was very instrumental in giving us the broad perspective. We also worked quite a lot with external reviewers, an external engineering team and external app developers who refined our equation and design equations to ensure that the structures would deliver as expected. And they also really refined our app development plan, including suggesting that we use better programming languages that will increase the versatility and the robustness of the app. We also did quite a lot of stakeholder engagement, more so regarding the future of the application. As you saw in the video, we reached out to several companies, several NGOs, and going forward, we'll be having discussion about the scalability of the application. Yeah, and the way we did that was through social media. That's why I've inserted that icon down there. Now, want to try the application? Well, there is the QPR code for the application. You can scan it and you can go ahead and design your dryer. The output that you expect is the kind of dryer that you have on the left or you have on the right. Alternatively, you can visit our website, www.agrikench.cloud, and go to the Apps tab, and you'll find the app there. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Samson. I would like to ask Bram from QING to shortly introduce himself in 2 sentences, what his role is at QING, and then ask the first question.
Well, thank you. Well, my name is Bram de Vught. I'm business manager at QING Group, responsible for all the projects that we're doing here from the Netherlands. Also trying to contribute to the food waste problems in the world. So this is typically a topic that really we see as a huge impact, and it's really nice to see how you guys explain the problem or the challenge at hand, and how you think this app can help it move forward. So just a question from my side. Also, an app is really scalable, but there are all kinds of different crops growing, obviously. Have you done any research on what are the lowest hanging fruits, just to name a crop, which will have the most impact, for example? And how are you going to plan the scale up for the different crops in the near future?
Okay, that's a very good question, and thank you for that. Initially, when we developed the application under guidance from various experts, we took a value chain approach, and we only focused on one type of crop, which was cassava. But later on, we decided to expand the scope of that app because farmers plant cassava and many other crops. But going forward, that is the direction that we intend to take. While deploying these dryers, when we construct them for real on the ground, we'll be targeting value chains. And the first low-hanging fruit, especially in Kenya, is cassava. It is, a crop that can succeed in various drought conditions and is resistant to climate change. So we can use the app to construct, dryers for the cassava value chain. And later on, the app can also be used for other types of value chains to supplement the cassava value chain. So that's definitely a low-hanging fruit. And we are at advanced stages of discussing the implementation of those dryers within the cassava value chain. We are having discussions here within Kilifi County, and I think the head of climate change unit in Kenya is here with us. We are also planning to roll some up, especially for the cassava value chain, which is a target crop here in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there time for another question?
Unfortunately, there is no time for another question, but I would invite Agrican Cloud to look into the chat. There are several questions raised there too, and they can answer them in the chat. It would be perfect to get to know a bit more about the project. So then I would like to move on to the next project, which is Higher Himalaya. It's a team from Nepal, and they worked on preventing spoilage of apples. And will tell you everything about it in the vlog they created too, which you will see now.
A remote district in the Karnali province of mid-western Nepal, about 830 km away from the capital, lies Jumla. More than 85% people here are dependent on agriculture. Apple is the main source of income in this area. Among the apple producing districts of Nepal, Jumla ranks on the top in area, production, and productivity. From July to August, it becomes a paradise of orchards teeming with varieties of apple. Every house has either small or big garden of apple. However, the living standard of people here could not be improved despite of the top priority given to the agriculture sector. Farmers here hardly get proper market value for their apples. Every year, tons of apples gets wasted. And one of the obvious reasons behind it is unavailability of cold storage. With lack of proper storage facility, farmers are forced to sell their apple at low prices. Some farmers store their apple in the nearby cold storage. Those who couldn't afford store by digging hole and keeping the apples underground, and some store in the storage made by themselves, such as this. As an agriculture student, knowing the value of food, we decided to construct a zero-energy cold storage and help farmers in value addition of apples, unsure of what lie ahead of us. For a team of undergraduate students with no experience, this project seemed difficult. With an aspiration of helping farmers, we went to Jumla. Reaching there was an adventure in itself. Our very first step was to know about the situation as a pre-feasibility test. We went to meet different regional officers and shared our vision with them. We went to meet some farmers to know the actual situation. They were really kind and humble and were deeply impressed by our project. We gathered all the possible information and reached out for the help from the regional officers and local people. During our stay at Jumla, we realized there's so much opportunities out there, you just had to be willing to seek those opportunities. This is just the first step of our project. There's a whole journey yet to live, but with joint effort, we can definitely achieve our goal, change our vision into reality. Like us, there are thousands of youth fighting for a change, and you could be one of them. Be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah, hi Himalaya, thank you very much for producing this video and also seeing you going into the field. Very interesting to see. Yeah, then it's I would like to give you the floor to give a short summary about your project.
Yo. Hello and namaste. We, the team hired Himalaya, a change maker, is the group of bachelor level students in agricultural engineering at IOE Purvanchal campus, Dharan, Nepal. Since having agricultural background, we have heard several news regarding alarming rate of post-harvest losses of apple, which made us rethink and question about ongoing system. The large portion of post-harvesting losses and poor financial status in the region equally motivate us to put our idea into action. Me, along with my team, want to thank WUR Student Challenge, QING, ES, and every single helping hand for this sort of effective program and support. Let me give some insight of our project. As we have already seen in our vlog, our project is about zero energy cold chamber having dual chamber. The warehouse gets cooled due to evaporative cooling in upper chamber and conventional oil cooling in lower chamber. Anomalous expansion of water also have some role with the chamber. Our visit to Jumla made us more sure about the working of our chamber due to wind breeze with very low humidity, which enhanced the evaporative cooling. The dual objective of our project are grading of apple, storage of apple in dual chamber of zero energy cold storage, and value addition on apple. Our project is different from other finalists of this event. Is we all know that our project is about building a cold storage, a sustainable structure, a topographically challenged region. The work we have completed in this couple of months, our collaboration are the collaboration with consult body. Is being the bachelor level student and having the project related to construction, we have to take permission from various governmental offices and suffering from a long procedure. So we are collaborating with concerned government offices, as you all can see in the slide. And we have met to the number of farmer in Jumla, a higher Himalaya place, with our idea of storage. And three of farmer are ready to give us land for construction, as shown in the slide. And we have ordered the construction material for our project. And with this all, we have finished our feasibility test. After our visit to Jumla, we realized that our project is not easy as we thought before. So we need to find some sponsor and stakeholder. We should complete the construction and infrastructure for value addition as soon as possible. After the completion of our first site, we will focus on scalability of our project. And at last, I want to tell that there is the saying that the old change by your example, not by your opinion. And we, the team Higher Himalaya, want to be an example here in Nepal. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation, Samir. Then I want to move on to the Q&A. The first question will be asked by Danush Dinesh from CCAPS. Can you first introduce yourself, Danush, and then pose the first question to the team Higher Himalaya?
Thank you, Thomas, and thanks so much to Samir and the team for this excellent presentation and video. So my name is Danush Dinesh. I work for the CGR, which is the International Network for Agricultural Research. I work within the Climate Change, Agriculture and Food Security Research Program, which is based at Wageningen University as well. And my role is Head of Partnerships and Outreach. So I wanted to focus on this presentation, which I really enjoyed, and I've had a chance to look at the summary as well from the project visit. So firstly, as a comment, it's really problem oriented. There's a clear problem there. You've really outlined that well. You've developed a solution which addresses the problem. What I'm missing, and this would be my first question, is that solution. Samir, you alluded to it a bit in your presentation, but not so much. What is that zero energy cold storage? What does it look like? It would be good to have a bit more detail on that, because I didn't see that in the video. In the video, it was just, you just had one bit about you will develop a zero energy cold storage, but it's good to know a bit more detail on that. That's something I missed. And maybe I quickly want to do another question very quickly, which is a personal one, which is, what is in this for you? What is motivating you? Because as in the beginning, you mentioned your agriculture engineering students, you can finish your engineering and get a nice job. You can come work for an organization like CGR. But what is it that is motivating you to do this in Jumla, where you showed the conditions are quite tough as well? It can be really useful for society, but what is in it for you? Because I think that's really important for the sustainability of this effort, which I think is very important. Thank you. Over to you, Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas, can I go through?
Yeah, Samir, you can answer the question. Thank you
so much for a very interesting question. It is also the question in our mind. First of all, I would like to answer the first question of yours, that is the brief about the zero energy cold chamber. Due to internet issue, our blog was buffering a lot, and it was playing in a very slow way, like a picture. But we have kept our 3D modeling of our zero energy cold chamber in that blog, as you see. And I will, by word, I will mention you, because I am in a next laptop of mine and I don't have here 3D modeling, but we can play the blog if necessary. Here we have two chambers. One is upper chamber and the next is lower chamber. And as we can see that the higher Himalaya has two main climate aspects. One is the coldness over there, and the next is the wind breeze. The wind breeze is very high over there. And we have designed the chamber in that way that the lower chamber will get cooled by the conventional way of cooling from the ground temperature, and the upper chamber will get cooled by the wind breeze, which will enhance the evaporative cooling. And after visiting the Joomla, we are more happy because we see more surety of our project, because the wind breeze in Joomla is with very low humidity. The humidity of wind breeze in Joomla is around 30%, and which is very good news for us, so that we can get evaporative cooling in upper chamber, and lower chamber will be. And anomalous expansion has the role that always the temperature of ground. Yeah. Thank you for 3D modeling. Thank you for sharing it. I think, sir, you have been clear by this modeling, because can you rotate it somehow? Yes, sectional slide view. Okay. There is the half of this storage just lie above the ground, and the half of this storage lie below the ground, so that the storage portion below the ground can take the conventional way of cooling, and the storage portion above the ground can take the evaporative way of cooling. And this combined model of cold storage is only one here in Nepal, and I expect I don't find any of this in our neighboring country, India, South Asia, and in the world in YouTube. We don't have more resources here in Nepal. Yeah. Thank you. And the next question is, the main motivational point for us is the working for change. What means engineering? In my opinion, the engineer is one who can bring the change, who can make the lifestyle of people more easy. And we are working for it in our academic period. Thank you so much for the question. I think I addressed you.
Yeah, thank you so much for showing, Samir, and I hope that this answered the question of the Dinesh. I also saw some interesting questions in the chat, so please also try to give an answer there. Then we will move on to the next team, which is Melt from New Zealand, and they worked on an alternative dairy product, and I will share their video now.
In Aotearoa, New Zealand, dairy is a major industry and is a key part of many people's diets. While dairy foods can be healthy, they do impact the land, water and air, and a quarter of all emissions in New Zealand come from dairy. People value environmental sustainability and health when choosing what to eat, so there's demand for new foods that have a smaller footprint. If we can create dairy foods that are more sustainable but are still nutritious and delicious, we can help Aotearoa meet COP targets to avoid drastic climate change. The Melt, based at Reddit Institute, wants to create a mozzarella cheese using dairy protein, but with oils from plants. Our goal was to create a method for making a low dairy mozzarella that can still melt well. Using relatively less dairy for our cheese compared to normal mozzarella could make it more sustainable. We used it in combination with oil from plants, which minimizes the amount of dairy.
There's a problem with the audio now. We will now look for the YouTube link. All right, Miriam found the link, and we will try it via YouTube now. Our apologies for the inconvenience.
In Aotearoa, New Zealand, dairy is a major industry and is a key part of many people's diets. While dairy foods can be healthy, they do impact the land, water and air, and a quarter of all emissions in New Zealand come from dairy. People value environmental sustainability and health when choosing what to eat, so there's demand for new foods that have a smaller footprint. If we can create dairy foods that are more sustainable but are still nutritious and delicious, we can help Aotearoa meet COP targets to avoid drastic climate change. The Melt, based at Riddit Institute, wants to create a mozzarella cheese using dairy protein, but with oils from plants. Our goal was to create a method for making a low dairy mozzarella that can still melt well. Using relatively less dairy for our cheese compared to normal mozzarella could make it more sustainable. We used it in combination with oil from plants, which minimises the amount of dairy needed while keeping protein content high. This also lowers the amount of saturated fat, making it healthier. We supplemented the cheese with phytosterols, beneficial chemicals from plants. Our hypothesis was that the phytosterols could change the texture of the cheese without impacting the taste.
So what we're doing right now is pre-mixing. Pre-mixing of our protein, our other ingredients, and with water as well.
After mixing the ingredients, we added them to a high-temperature cooker. Our first prototype was crumbly, which wasn't quite what we were after. We wanted it to stretch, which means it would melt well, like mozzarella. However, the oils didn't leach out, which meant we accomplished one goal of adding plant oil and phytosterols to casein to make a cheese. We wanted the next prototype to be as stretchy as possible, so we changed the recipe slightly and used high pressure, heat, and shear forces. We hoped this would force casein to form a continuous network to provide the stretchy cheese we wanted. There are many challenges in making a low dairy cheese, but texture is probably the biggest for mozzarella, which needs to melt evenly. The texture of our second cheese still wasn't perfect, but we did accomplish our original goal of combining milk protein with plant oils and phytosterols. We proved the concept. Our next major goal would be to ensure that the cheese melts very well by changing the recipe slightly. A major long-term goal would be to change the type of protein we use. We could use either protein from plants or from bacteria to make an even more sustainable product. Making it easy to eat healthy and sustainable food is a great way to address climate change. Let's eat for the future.
Yeah, thank you very much for this video again, Melt. Beautiful, edited. Yeah, it's now the stage is yours now, and you can share your screen and give a 3 minutes project summary.
So, hi everyone. Can we hear me? We all good?
Yeah,
awesome.
We can hear you.
So we're the Melt, and we're a team of motivated young food engineers, and food is our way to make a difference. Food is one of the biggest drivers of climate change, and there are significant opportunities to lower the climate impact of food. In New Zealand, dairy contributes to 25% of all emissions. Creating alternative dairy products that can provide good nutrition while being climate conscious is one way to improve the sustainability of food systems. Consumers increasingly value sustainability when it comes to food. However, consumers will not buy a food based on sustainability alone. It must also be healthy, tasty, and sustainable. And these are important decision drivers. So our innovation has been in taking a multidimensional approach to food product development by merging consumer values, nutrition, and sustainability. We tried to address climate by using a relatively small amount of dairy protein in combination with plant-based oils, which later will be replaced with lab-produced protein. During our experimental stages, we ensured the cheese had a good nutritional profile by being high in protein and low in unsaturated fat, and by supplementation of plant phytosterols. This will get us to a very climate-positive cheese. So we reviewed the literature to find out the best way to produce a more sustainable, healthy, and tasty cheese alternative, and we developed the method shown here. So phytosterols have a proven ability to decrease the total and LDL cholesterol levels in humans. However, their application in food formulation is challenging. So we've successfully emulsified the phytosterol in the protein matrix under pressurized conditions to avoid phase separation. A network of phytosterol casein protein with elastic properties was created as our first prototype, and we found the texture to be close to industrially produced mozzarella cheeses, although somewhat firmer. Unfortunately, due to COVID impacts, we couldn't optimize and characterize our prototype as much as we would have liked. So at this stage, we have successfully overcome two quintessential challenges of this project: incorporating the phytosterol and developing a process which gives us something similar to a mozzarella cheese. Based on this, we are currently at a technology readiness level where we have a successful proof of concept on a small scale. And this is just the beginning for us. Our immediate plans are to continue development in terms of texture and taste. And this will involve the introduction of some new techniques combined with some good old-fashioned trial and error. We'll then optimize sustainability by transitioning to animal-free caseins and using a life cycle analysis to pinpoint areas for improvement. And we expect these milestones to take us between 1 and 2 years. Following this, we see the need for an investment round as we begin upscaling our methodology to achieve commercial production volumes. This leads to an introduction to the local market, whereby we then hope to see uptake of this method by larger producers as a means to reduce the environmental impact of their products. And so in closing, we'd really briefly like to thank the organisers of this competition. It's been amazing. And special recognition, of course, goes to both Martin as our mentor and Miriam for their hard work guiding us and marshalling us along a very limited timeline. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nathalie. Then I would like to give the word to Ivo from the jury, who will ask you the first question.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Nathalie and team. First, I want to congratulate you with the vlog. It was very nicely put together, easy to follow, even for somebody like me who's not from the food processing part. And I really like your drive to add something to the food system approach, seen from a climate perspective. And that's also the question which I saw in the chat, and also my first question about the vlog. Can you already give some estimates on greenhouse gas reduction in emission or other natural resources reduction? Because you are right. First, the taste and the texture has to be good. But secondly, and especially for the investment round, I think it's needed to underpin the claims you make on the environment. So that's the first question. Second question, how do you want to be involved in future? I'm just curious. Do you want to go on with this? Do you want to be part of a company, something like this? Those are my two questions.
Yeah, awesome, thank you. So Summer's done a little bit of work on started doing a life cycle analysis, which takes into account some of those climate impacts as in really nailing it down. So I'm going to hand over to Summer for that question.
Yeah, hi. In order to estimate the emissions profile of our product compared to other products, it's actually very difficult because we have limited data on life cycle analysis of dairy products in New Zealand in terms of mozzarella specifically. So we can't make a substantive claim on how much less our emissions would be impacted, but we know that our emissions would be far less in future if we were able to transition to proteins that weren't from animals. So we were trying to first prove that we could use casein, the milk protein, along with phytosterols and plant oils. So we proved that, but now we hope to transition to using casein or protein from non-animals, which is where the sustainability would really be impacted. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, partially. I think this just needs some more work, and it will help in attracting investments anyway. So that's good to know that you're working on that. And then, how do you want to be involved? How do you see this growing into a commercial product, and what will be your role in it?
Yeah, so I'll answer that question. I think for us, it really depends how development goes to some extent. I mean, this is still a very early stage of our project. And scaling it up, especially in terms of a lab casein incorporation, will be interesting and potentially challenging. And I mean, we need to see where then our finances come from and what we can outsource and things like that. I mean, if that means that we have to tend towards a partnership or maybe selling the idea, we don't know yet. We do want to stay reasonably flexible, obviously, and in an ideal world, we would form our own company and take this right through to market. But it's very dynamic, and it's still quite a new space to be working in terms of food. So I think I think that decision will be driven by developments in the area, and that might be hard to predict now.
Thanks, clear for now.
All right, thank you very much for the questions, Ivo, and thank you very much, Team Melt, for presenting your work. Then we're moving on to the next team. That is Hydropan from Kenya, and they worked on a project to ensure enough food supply in arid and semi-arid regions. And I will share their vlog with you now.
Peru is a country with biological and climatic diversity.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Climate Smart Agro Hydropan team, aka Team Hydropan. This is team from Lukenya University, Kenya, a country in Africa. The team is made up of 5 members: Albanas Mutiso, Welta Onyango, Austin Onyango, Dennis Mogo, and Dennis Chalo. The team is making Hydropan. Hydropan emanates from 2 terms: hydro meaning water, and pan, which is all on the ground. The essence of coming with the idea was to conserve water, bearing in mind our area is located in semi-arid area. So once we have conserved this water, we can use it and maximally for crop production. Using a backhoe and excavator, we cleared the land and dug 10 by 10 meters hydropan and raising the walls 2 meters high, filling the hydropan using EPDM dam liners. The work of the dam liner is to prevent water loss through evaporation and drainage. And also the hydropan can contain a capacity of 400,000 liters of water. Now we planted cover crops around the hydropan. The cover crops were the passion fruits and the pumpkins. We supported our cover crops using metal bars and chicken wire mesh. This will enable the cover crops to form a canopy over the hydropan and hence prevent water loss through evaporation. By doing this, we will conserve our water and use it for crop production. We are also producing farming liquid. Farming liquid is a foliar fertilizer produced from organic farming, that is, interbreeding red wingler worms and earthworms to form dental worms, which form that farming liquid. Applying it using knapsack sprayer and spraying on leafy plants like kales, we are boosting their growth and their yields, and then we have high yield production. We are growing onions using drip irrigation system. Cassava is one of the drought-resistant crop. It's also grown from the water of the hydropan. Strawberries are also doing well using that conserved water. They are grown using a polythene paper, which will prevent infection of various insects. Also, watermelon are doing well in the region. We expect first produces next month. We have planted maize using drip irrigation system, which uses water minimally. And also we are growing pawpaw. Pawpaw is one of the fruits which is in demand in our area. And once we have planted this pawpaw, we will have surplus returns, and conserving this water in hydropan will enable us to produce more produces in return. We have also engaged many people. Lukenya University Vice Chancellor borrowed the idea. The various schools have come to benchmark our project. Not forgetting the community which bought the idea, and they all promise to go and implement the water conservation idea in their homes.
Yeah, thank you very much, Hydropan, for making this video. Really nice to see the pictures of the first crops. I would like to give you now the stage to give a summary of 3 minutes of your work.
Hi everyone. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, hi everyone. Team Hydropan project summary represents. The team is made up of 5 members: Dennis Mogo Mwendo, Albanas Otiso Kitu, Walter Otieno Onyango, Dennis Chalo, and Austin Onyango. Introduction. As a team, we came up with an innovation in response to unreliable rainfall in our region at Kenya University, which is located at a semi-arid area, the lower western part of Kenya, a country in Africa. The innovation focuses on mitigating the challenges of food insecurity by establishing a climate-smart agro-hydropan multipurpose crop production system, educating the local farmers and the entire society on the techniques they can use to conserve the little and reliable rainfall and maximize its use in crop production, start improving food security, a move aimed at attaining sustainable development goals. About this project, the innovation establishes a water collection and conservation system in these regions that are semi-arid, experiencing little or no rainfall. This water collection and conservation system is called Hydropan. The term Hydropan emanates from 2 words, hydro meaning water and pan meaning oil in the ground, and fitted with eco-friendly dam liner. The Hydropan is unique from other water pans in that it makes use of cover crops. The crops are grown at the edge of the pan. In our case, the cover crops use pumpkins and passion fruit. We have supported our cover crop using metal bars and chicken wire mesh, which will help to form a canopy of our hydropan. This will help to prevent water loss through evaporation. Use of organic fertilizers. The innovation uses organic fertilizers, foliar fertilizer, produced by composting dental worms, mainly fed with kitchen refuse and green matter to produce high nutrient content fertilizer known as farming liquid. The foliar fertilizers produced from the worms is eco-friendly compared to the inorganic fertilizers in the market. This is a picture of one of the members attending to the den of worms. Youth inclusion and what we do. We create awareness to farmers in the area, students from different schools and teachers, university students, and through intern and personal interactions, we encourage them to implement the project in their locality to enhance food security. We also create awareness to a large group of the youth by use of our social media platform. We enlighten them on the need of curb food insecurity. We encourage them to implement climate-smart agro-hydropan multipurpose crop production system. Our Facebook page is Climate Smart Agro Network. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Walter, for giving this presentation and some more insights on your project. Now I would like to give the stage to Danush Dinesh, who will ask the first question.
Yeah, thanks, Thomas, and thanks, Walter, for the presentation and for the rest of the team for this very inspiring project. I really liked the vlog, and it was really nice to see what's actually happened on the ground. It was really impressive. Thank you. I have 2 questions, and I'll be really quick. So first question is, to me, it looks like a very nice project. It could be a development project, or it could be a business project. But that business angle, you know, why is this commercial, and how can it be taken to scale? That's not clear to me. So I would like to hear from you how you're thinking about taking this to scale in a commercial model as opposed to a development project. The second thing was, I mean, you already alluded to in your presentation, the unreliable rainfall patterns in Kenya. This is a solution, of course, but have you considered what the future climate might be in the region? I mean, if there are long periods without rainfall, would this still be viable, you know? So that's a question I have. I'm not familiar with the region. We're seeing many regions becoming more dry. If this region is in that situation, the hydropan may not be a suitable solution. So 2 questions there.
You can answer the questions, Hydropan.
Okay, about the question 1, scalability. You have asked about the scalability of our project. Yeah, now the ability of our project to adapt. Now, the hydropan, we made it like a demo training system. So we have a future plan of implementing other and more hydropans. For example, we have started digging another hydropan around the institution where we have available land. So in doing this, we are increasing the number of the hydropans around the area and also creating the awareness to local farmers and the visitors who come to our demo training site, that is the project site. We encourage them to go and practice the idea in their homes. So we have created that awareness, and we are sure that the scalability of our project will enlarge and many people will learn about water conservation using the Hydropan, which is a climate smart adaptation system. Yeah, thank you. The second question.
You can also answer the second question, Walter, but you're muted now.
Okay, answering the second question. Yeah, you said you have not been into a semi-arid area. Okay, okay. In our region is a Kibwezi sub-county, a lower eastern part of Kenya, which is a semi-arid area. So we normally experience little or no rainfall. For example, you may go a year without a rainfall, or there may just be little rainfall. So implementing an idea of water conservation in this region will be helping farmers in this area, because water is a key thing and an essential thing for crop production. So once we have conserved this water using this climate smart agro system, you have noted earlier, our system can contain around 400,000 liters of water. So in this arid area, if a farmer has that idea to construct hydropan and conserves that amount of water, be sure that he can use that water to grow crops even in a large area of land like 2 acres and 4 acres, where one can grow vegetables and sell them and have much returns. So the hydropan idea is recommended in arid and semi-arid areas where there are no rainfalls. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question, Danush, and thank you very much for the answer, Walter. We got to know your project very well now, and it's time to move on to the last presentation of today, the last project, which is Berrybot. It's a project from Peru. They are focusing on robots to automate agricultural tasks, and I will show their vlog now with you.
Peru is a country with biological and climatic diversity. Agriculture has challenges such as climatic variability, poor access to water, and the presence of pests. The agro-export activity has been consolidated as one of the main pillars of the economic and social development of Peru. Among the main exported products, blueberry showed the highest growth and was positioned as the second product with the highest FOB, free on board value. In this context, the goal of the Berrybot for the Challenge QING Innovation Track is the construction of an autonomous mobile robot for the segmentation of fruits in real time and the detection and control of pests through the focalized application of pesticides using computer vision and artificial intelligence algorithms. The first phase of this project is based on the manufacture of 4-wheel mobile robot with 2 cameras mounted on a 2DOF robotic manipulator for image processing and a frontal camera for navigation autonomy. Also, the validation of the transmission of data from the agricultural land to a server in the cloud and the visualization of this data. The segmentation and labeling of blueberries were built on a dataset of 10,000 images taken from Santa Isabel farm. Each image was labeled manually in 2 classes, purple and green. Based on this dataset, different detection and segmentation algorithms on video and real-time sequences were performed, and a boxed detection architecture was chosen, as it had better real-time performance. For blueberry tracking and counting, we have implemented DeepSOAR as a first alternative. When it comes to the robot's autonomy, we are in the process of adapting an autonomous-based architecture to agricultural environments. The Jetson front camera will feed information to detect rows of crops, objects, and free space for road planning. This detection module uses segmentation algorithms from classical computer vision and techniques, slide edge detection, hook transformations. We developed a mobile application capable of monitoring robot data, easy to find and understand for the end user. The software used is Android Studio in the Java programming language. In addition, we use the Google Maps APIs and we design our user interface in Figma. The Berrybug project aspired to become a technological startup that provides solutions to agro-export companies with the services of detection and control of pests, segmentation and counting of fruits, as well as connecting the field to the internet to improve crop yield.
Yeah, thank you so much for making this video, Berrybug. I'm really exciting to see your project driving through the fields. Yeah, now you can give a short summary of 3 minutes of your project.
Hello, everybody. My name is Yusef Baca, and I am in charge of the mechanical design and manufacture of the Berrybug. The goal of the Berrybot project for the QING Innovation Challenge is the construction of an autonomous mobile robot for the segmentation and labeling of blueberries in real time and the detection and control of pests through the focalized application of pesticides using computer vision and artificial intelligence algorithms. With this implementation, we aim to greatly reduce the use of pesticides on the production fields. Currently, we are in the first phase of the project, which includes the manufacture of a 4-wheel mobile robot with 2 cameras mounted on a 2 degrees of freedom robotic manipulator for image processing and a frontal camera for navigation autonomy. In this phase, we have also included the segmentation and labeling of blueberries built on a dataset of 10,000 images taken from Santa Isabel Farm. Based on this dataset, different detection and segmentation algorithms on video and real-time sequences were performed, and box detection architecture was chosen, as it had better real-time performance. For blueberries tracking and counting, we have implemented deep sort as a first alternative. When it comes to the robot's autonomy, we're in the process of adopting an autonomous-based architecture to agricultural environments. The Jetson front camera will feed information to detect the rows of crops, objects, and free space for route planning. This detection model uses segmentation algorithms from classical computer vision techniques. We have also developed a mobile application capable of monitoring the robot's data, easy to find and understand for the end user. The software we use for this is Android Studio. As it was mentioned before, we have just finished the first phase of this project, and we are eager to continue with the second phase, which will include the detection and control of pests through the focalized application of pesticides using computer vision and the complete implementation of the robot autonomous navigation system. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Giuseppe Baca. And I would like to give the floor to Bram, who will ask the first question to you.
Well, first of all, thank you for the presentation and the vlog. I'm really impressed with all the types of technology that you guys applied in this case. Really nice to see, really impressive. Well, there are a couple of questions that come to mind, because when you're looking into orchard robotization, you have also, who is your end client? Because how do you see the acceptance and the adaptation of this technologies by the farmers? Because it's like a really big step from doing everything manually to fully autonomous.
Well, it is a process. It won't be fully autonomous from the get-go, but there are many companies that are interested, since this implementation of this project will allow these companies to extend their fields and increase their production.
Thank you for that.
Do you have an additional question, Bram?
Well, now at this point you're focusing on the detection of the pesticides. Are you also including the action, so actually providing the pesticides at the right place and stuff like that, or is that something that's completely separated from this project?
in this first phase, we are just we are focused on the segmentation and labeling of blueberries. The next phase, it's going to be about this detection of pests and disease. So we are gonna get that in the next phase.
But also applying the pesticides at the right place and the right time, or is the application of the pesticides not included?
No, the application of these pesticides is included.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for the questions, Bram and Team Berrybud for answering those. And I would like to give the floor to Miriam for more information on the rest of this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Thomas. And thank you, teams and jury, and also the audience for all the questions in the chat. I think the teams will be busy answering all of them. So please do. We still have 5 minutes for a break, and I suggest we will do that. So everybody can take some water, go to toilet, whatever you want to do. We'll be back here at 4:10 with a panel discussion about hurdles and future opportunities. As said before, we don't want it to stop here. So any organizations who see opportunities for these teams, please contact us. We have a very wonderful panel at 4:10. You see the names on screen, so I don't have to call them out. But and we have a wonderful moderator, Clark Halpern. He's from CSAYN. So I suggest we will be back at 4:10. In the meantime, if you can watch a video about the Urban Greenhouse Challenge that we are starting in a few months, or right now actually, at Wageningen University. So if you're interested, I will share a link later in the chat where you can find more information on participating. So it's a new challenge after this QING Innovation Track. Well, thanks a lot. Why? Sorry.
In Wageningen, students and scientists from all over the world are working on global challenges that we face. One of these challenges is, how do we feed the cities in a sustainable way? And to do that, we are focusing on urban farming, and we need brilliant ideas. So we invite you to come over and help us with these brilliant ideas on urban farming.
In a new edition of the Urban Greenhouse Challenge, we challenge you to develop an urban farming site that brings positive change to Deanwood in Washington, D.C. Will you pick up the gauntlet?
This is your unique opportunity to create positive impact and boost your career. You will learn all about urban farming, develop entrepreneurial and professional skills, and build your network. Plus, if you make it to the finals, you will get a chance to win a prize worth of 10,000 euros.
Can you create change by bringing food production back into the cities? Join the Urban Greenhouse Challenge now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back from your break. It is very exciting, all of these groups and their projects. As we've seen, climate adaptation of food systems really can take on many different forms. And it's really inspiring to see that the actions and the drive of youth all around the world in creating climate adaptation for their local food systems. So as we move forward into this panel discussion, we're hoping to really gain perspective on the different challenges and opportunities for youth in the food system climate adaptation space. And we really have a wonderful panel ahead of us today. And so with that, I will ask the panel to introduce themselves. And first, I would like to ask Phil Taylor to please introduce himself for 1 minute.
Oh, thanks, Clark. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody. Very, very pleased to join the call today, and such inspiring projects to hear over the last hour or so. As Clark said, my name is Phil Taylor. I'm with Bayer Crop Science, based here in the US, where I sit in our R&D organization in a team that we call Open Innovation and Strategic Partnerships. And so it's my job to be looking into the external ecosystem to think about innovation and think about projects and innovations and opportunities going on that can really drive our pipeline and support the innovation ecosystem. And I'm just delighted to have a chance to talk about that today, but also through the perspective of how we use it to engage the future leaders in agriculture, many of which we have on the call here now. So thank you, Clark, for the opportunity, and looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you, Phil. What a great introduction to your work. Next, I will ask Geraldine Francia to please introduce herself.
Thanks, Clark. Hello, everybody. Thanks for the invitation. I am telecom engineer, actually a Peruvian telecom engineer, where I studied in the same university of the very bot team. So I'm happy to support them today. Besides that, I work as a technical project manager in Google to interconnect data centers. But among that, I am an enthusiastic farmer, and I think I consider the agricultural activities very key for the development of especially for my country, Peru, and other countries in the South Global. I think this topic and this agenda that you are addressing here in this event is quite important to help improve the efficiency and the production and reduce the impact that the activities can generate now. So thanks for the invitation again.
Wonderful, thank you, Geraldine. Next, I would like to invite Amos Palfreman to introduce himself.
So yes, good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everyone on the call, and it's wonderful to be reconnected to Wageningen. I had the pleasure of living there for 6 months, and so it's great to be virtually connected again. I'm based here in New Zealand, and I work for Food HQ, which is a company that meets at the intersection of food science and business. And I lead a project work around emerging proteins, or the protein transition as it's called in Netherlands. And I also work for Sprout, which is an early stage venture investor in agri-tech and food tech. So I've been really amazed by some of the projects on display, and I have to give a shout out to Team Out from New Zealand.
Wonderful, thank you, Amos. Next, I will ask Sebastian Ojema to please introduce himself.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Sebastian. My background is in engineering, actually. Started out as an engineer, and at some point I figured out technology has to merge with business. So I studied economics and strategy for business. Throughout most of my career, I've managed projects that tend to look at the application of technology within a business context. And I think that's my focus, in this meeting, is just to see how we're merging these technology, solutions to business. So glad to be here. Very, very interesting project. Thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian. Next, our other panelists from New Zealand. Nita Scott, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, yes, thanks for inviting me as well. It's been really nice to hear all the presentations, great work done by all the teams. I am managing director for a company called DFV Pharma. We're a global manufacturer and supplier of excipients, which goes into medication. Here in New Zealand, we mainly have lactose excipients. My background is in bioprocess engineering. I studied at Wageningen University, so it's really nice to be invited and be involved in one of your great initiatives. I also did about 7 months at Massey University in New Zealand when I was a student, so it's nice to see a team from that university here as well. My professional career has been the first half in process development, R&D, and the second half of my career I moved into operations, and with my current role there's also a lot of regulatory, supply chain, and all of that. So if I can help out in that area, I'm more than happy to share some thoughts. And also what we see is also for big corporate organizations, the sustainability is on top of the agenda. It's everywhere. It's not just regulatory, it's customers asking for it as well. It's something we all have to do to make a change.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Anita. And finally, last but not least, Vidya Bertel from Nepal. Can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Clark. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited. Very inspirational stories and the cases that I've just seen. This is Vidyanath Furtel from Nepal. I'm the country director for international NGO ECO, which is now also merged with CORDAT, another Dutch international agency. And we've been around here in Nepal for the last 30 years. So personally, I've been a development professional for the last 20 years plus. And the key areas of interest for me is always like, agro-food systems, SMEs, promoting SMEs in the agriculture sector. So all these innovations are really exciting for me to see. And in Nepal, we've been really promoting various sectors, various subsectors of agriculture like coffee, honey, mushrooms. And we are also very interested to start with the apples in Jumla. So that's what actually brought me to this panel. And really, thank you so much for having me. So more later. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Vidya. And now, as we can see, we have a very esteemed panel from all around the world that has a variety of experiences. And I really hope that we'll be able to glean some information from them about how youth can really take on food system transformation. Now that our panel has been introduced, I'll briefly introduce myself. I'm a PhD student at Wageningen University, and I have several years of international agricultural development experience around the world. I am the liaison officer from the Global Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Network to Wageningen University. We're really happy that we were able to take advantage of this opportunity to grow youth work around the world. But first, I have a first question for Phil Taylor, in that my question is, how can large organizations such as Bayer use their network and influence to encourage youth-led local climate adaptation work in food systems? Over to you, Phil.
Thanks, Clark, and really appreciate the question and the opportunity. And I'll start by saying, as one of the larger entities in the ag space, I actually really, one of the things I love about working for Bayer and love about here is the opportunity we have to set that framework and set that vision for where things can go. And so almost an obligation for us to lead. And so when I'm thinking about it in the context of youth and youth leadership, it basically breaks down into three aspects for me: the people, partnerships, and innovation. And I'll make a quick comment about each. From a people perspective, a major effort within our organization is to really engage the agricultural leaders of tomorrow and help set them on their way, much like we have done this morning. And so to do that, we actually have not only an individual within the organization, Nelly, who's actually on the call with us this morning, whose role it is within the company to do that, right? This is her full-time job. But a major activity for her and her team is to run our Youth Ag Summit, where we bring 100 future leaders in agriculture together about once a year or so to engage and learn and get into some dialogue. Because not only do we think we have something to offer as an organization, but we have an incredible amount to learn. Just listening to the calls this morning, it's the younger leaders coming through who have the breakthrough ideas. They're not restricted by years in corporate environments and thinking very much in silos, all that kind of thing. So we seek to learn as much as we can. And just as an aside, when I'm done talking, I'll put a few links in the chat for folks who are interested to learn some more. The second piece around partnerships, this is where we actively engage with organizations like IAAS, as Thomas talked about in his introduction, to really, again, engage and learn and find out what's going on and figure out how we can support it. Our own Klaus Kuntz, part of the organization, is actually on a parallel conversation now at the Youth SDG Summit, talking about our sustainability commitments, right? So we take all these opportunities to reach out, connect, learn, and empower as best we can. And then a little closer to my passion and where I sit in the organization is really how we think about innovation. So we've got programs within the crop science R&D organization, designed to help innovators take those first steps towards an MVP or executing a proof of concept, be they academics, be they startups. We're always looking to drive partnerships and drive innovation and do it in a way that creates win-win scenarios. You've got great ideas. Sometimes we have great resources. Sometimes it's financial. Sometimes it's structural. So we're always looking to get that into the ecosystem and build that network. So between a sort of a people-centered approach, a partnership-centered approach, and an innovation-centered approach, my hope is that Bayer has something that anybody out there that's got an idea or an opportunity in the food or climate or ag space can resonate with. So we're always looking for partners. We're always looking for dialogue. So, not that this is a commercial or anything, but certainly would encourage you to reach out, and I'll put my contact details and some links in the chat, and very excited to see where the conversation goes from here. Thank you. Hope that answered the question, Clark.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Phil. It's really, really great to hear about the different ways that you approach partnering with youth around the world. And I really want to reiterate that to all the youth organizations that are here on the call, that all the panelists are here and that they are excited about the work that youth are doing. So I want to encourage all of you to reach out and follow up on this work. Next, I would like to talk to Geraldine Francia and talk about the work that Berrybot had in Peru. One of their biggest bottlenecks was accessing the computational capacity needed for data training and validation tests for their work. So my question for you is, how would you recommend they or other tech-focused entrepreneurial youth organizations best bridge this computational capacity gap? Over to you, Geraldine.
Thanks, Clark, for the question. So I think we need to follow two strategies here. First, in the technical side, it's important to evaluate which part of the processing and the machine learning or the algorithms that they want to run can be run in the edge or terminal devices, which capacities they can live in that phase, and which of them needs to go to the cloud or to other processing systems. Especially consider the situation for the connectivity in the rural areas where these systems can be applied, these robots can work. So it's really important to have that in consideration, because the circumstances in a rural area is very different than they may be in a very big field in North America or in other countries, right? Is a different circumstances. That is in the technical part. So divide and conquer in some way. And in the relationships part, like strategic, I think it's key to look for alliance. For example, Google or other companies like Google, we have several programs to provide fundings and grants in our computing resources. I'm going to put some links as well for all the teams that can be interested on that, to apply on that. Look for partners, create connections with other institutions. Obviously, take leverage of the probably university or other academic fundings that can be in their countries, and also try to create like some way to communicate the progress of their projects. For example, these videos, blogs, LinkedIn pages, and don't be afraid to contact other people. Just like anecdote, I am here just because I saw a message in Facebook, and I saw that someone was doing a research on this, and I was really interested. It sounds really nice for me, And I started to work with the team and try to collaborate in some way, just for this reason. So I think it's key, the communication, and try to make it public, all the progress that you are doing and the ideas that you have in different networks, LinkedIn or other social networks, and try to contact also professional networks or companies like Bayer, for example, that Phil mentioned, that can be interested in support this kind of initiatives.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Geraldine. It was really wonderful to hear your journey and how you then connected it back into this. And so with that, I really want to reiterate to the youth organizations is just to use these networks for your benefit, in that you can see there's many people here who want to assist you, whether first for this computational capacity problem or for the many other gaps that you might face. And it's just simply a question of sharing and trying to get this outreach. That is great. Thank you again, Geraldine. With that, I'd like to go over to Amos Palferman, one of our panelists from New Zealand. Thank you again for staying up so late. I will ask you a question. What role do you see youth playing in the protein transition away from animal protein to plant-based protein, both in your experience in New Zealand, but also worldwide? Over to you, Amos.
Thanks very much, Clark, and it's my pleasure to stay up. It's interesting. I was thinking about the panel and what it means to be a youth, and I did mention to my niece that I was doing this and that I sort of considered myself fairly youthful, and she looked quite shocked. And so now I guess I'm over the youth part. So I was wondering, what has changed in my life in sort of the last decade? And what I realized is that, in the same way that we're moving in this protein transition from a largely animal-based, protein production systems, especially in the West, to a more plant-based and diversified portfolio of protein production, it really struck me that it's kind of in that phase in youth that you're also transitioning in all kinds of other activities. You're looking for perhaps the career path that you might go into. You're looking to try and find a way that you can undertake your passion, but also pay the bills. And so there's all these opportunities. And what really struck me is that, 10 years ago, there just wouldn't have been the options in New Zealand to go into these kind of emerging proteins or alternative proteins. It just wasn't a thing. You kind of had, if you wanted to get into protein, you kind of had the dairy route, and we've done that very well traditionally, and we've been blessed with kind of a temperate climate and great biosecurity and all of these things. But what I've really seen in the last, I'd say probably 18 months, is just huge interest from youth and all ages, from school leavers right through to postdocs. There's a real interest in saying, well, I've got these, this technical capacity in food science or maybe process engineering or agriculture, and now I can actually combine that with the opportunity to solve a massive problem. And you kind of, the best alignment is when self-interest is there, and we are the ones that are going to inherit the planet. And I think that most of the conversations I have, there aren't many climate sort of deniers in youth, because they're kind of looking at all of the downside with very little of the upside if they don't act. So I think it's a really unique opportunity for where, one of the biggest structural changes in the food system in probably, 30 years, or perhaps even since the Green Revolution, is about to, go and get underway in this protein transition, and youth are perfectly poised to take advantage of that as they transition in their own journey through life and looking for that next step that they take and how they combine their passion with their professional aspiration. So it's a very exciting time for the protein transition, and also youth that want to be involved.
Thank you, Amos. And I think you really hit the nail on the head there, and that this is a really exciting time to be youth and trying to enter this field. There's so many different opportunities out there. It's just a matter of grasping them and getting access to them. And that's something that we really tried to take on with this QING Innovation Track, is making sure that these opportunities for youth around the world who might not have the opportunity to show their ideas or access the finance to be able to really take on that. So it's really wonderful. And I'm
And
glad that you were able.
I should jump in and say, you know, we do venture investments and we're actively looking at this space. And so we're very keen to, of course, connect with Team Out. And I'm lucky enough that New Zealand is one of those countries where it's fairly small. So I've had the pleasure of meeting some of the team before, and these are exactly the kind of you know, aspirational ideas, targets, and technical capacity in a team that we're really looking for. So I think watch this space.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Amos, for reaching out like that. And I really recommend, once again, all the youth organizations reach out afterwards to these panel members. Next, I'd like to move on to our next panel member, Sebastian, and really dive into his wealth of experience with NGOs in both Kenya and then worldwide. So in our two youth track members that were from Kenya, they both spoke about the bottlenecks of bridging the finance gap between prototypes and then moving into this full food system, full food scale system integration. So my question for you, Sebastian, is how can youth best bridge the finance gap between prototypes and full scale food system integration? Over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Clark. I was actually thinking about this, you know, how do we bridge the gap between product development and market development? Because that's a problem we have here. I was also looking at the solutions that were offered by the Kenyan teams, and I realized that some of those solutions are not sexy. You know, they solve a problem, but the problem is not sexy. It would be very difficult for a private sector enterprise, for example, to go into investing in hydropans, and this is where the role of public sector money, through NGOs, for example, can play a role. Because what do we really do? Is for us, we invest in those non-sexy projects, in sort of taking care of the sunk costs that can never come back. You can never really get them back. And so I would really encourage the youth who have solutions like this to reach out to people like SNB, because we're always looking at solutions out there that we can then scale, knowing that private sector and the commercial angle is not very, very clear. If you looked at my questions in the chat box, I was always asking, what's the commercial angle? Did you work out the financials? And so forth. A good example is the hydropans. I worked on a project that was seeking to scale the use of hydropans. And one of the key constraints was the cost of the liners, and we never solved it. That's a key constraint to that. However, we should find some comfort that there will always be the likes of SNB that will be looking to invest in such initiatives, because we see value in it. And we invest in it until that point when we see private sector concerns getting interested in it. And we will continue doing that. So I would like to encourage all the youth, who presented their projects. Some of them were really great. I mean, I like the robots, and so forth. I mean, that's very, very clear. I liked the hydropans. The question is, how do we scale that? They're very, very expensive. You have to look at crop water requirements, which most farmers don't look at, and so forth. And these are the solutions we need. Another one is to do with our focus on youth and youth being a key driver for service sector in agriculture. In Africa right now, the youth don't want to do production. They are more interested in services. And that's where we are investing our money in. How do we get the youth interested in agriculture, especially in provision of services and solutions in the sector? So very interesting projects. There are going to be challenges, especially in commercialization, but there are always enterprises. There are always NGOs that are interested to take these solutions from the shelves and try them out until that point when the market is ready for them. Thank you so much.
Wow, Sebastian, that was really inspiring to listen to. And I hope that all of my fellows from the Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Network, which is predominantly based in Africa, can heed your words and really go forward and try to bring about more production side things, and to know that there is the demand there. There are these organizations that are there to support you. That is really wonderful. Next, I'll move over to our other panelists from New Zealand. Anita Scott, thank you, as well as Amos, for staying up so late. I know it's quite late there. And I know you've had a lot of institutional work, and that's oftentimes a big point, is bridging this gap between these small scale things and then entering these established supply chains. And so my question for you is, how can youth entrepreneurs best enter or transform established supply chains to really scale up their impact? Over to you, Anita.
Yes, thank you. This is a very big question, but I'll try to give a reasonably concise answer. So if you look at supply chain, we normally immediately think about logistics. So moving of raw materials, consumables, products, between suppliers, warehouses, and of course, ultimately to our customers. So basically, your movement of goods. But really, supply chain also includes sourcing, cost management, supplier relations, and things like that. So if you look at impact, and especially in the light of this forum, you really need to look at your materials that you use. Is it all ethically sourced? What's the footprint of your materials and consumables that you use? And this also includes freight. So that goes into the footprint of your products that then go to your customers. Going back to logistics, you really have to start with scoping your supply chain, just looking at where the projects are now. I think that's what I need to do first before you can answer that question. So who are your customers? Where are your customers? Are you working in the local markets, national, international? So, for example, the cheese is an easy one, to explore. Are you going to market this at little boutique shops, or is it the goal to have your cheese on every Domino pizza in the country, or maybe even the world? Do you go to McDonald's and have your slice on a veggie burger? Or so those are things you really need to keep into account. And then you have to think about also the size of your operation. We all start small, but where do you want to be in 3 years, 5 years? How fast are you gonna grow? Because at the end of the day, your customers want the product when they want the product. So you need to make sure you've got enough to fill that supply. You need to be able to deliver those customers, otherwise you lose them straight away. So good planning, good forecasting, good understanding of your market that you're going to be working in. So a bit of marketing is really important, especially in those early stages, and of course, and then you repeat it basically continuously as you grow. Speed, costs, there's cheap options to get your products to your customer, but they generally take a little bit longer. So that really depends on your product, which one's more important. Do you go for the speed? Do you, if somebody orders, do they want it tomorrow, or is this more of a longer term product that you've got where they can wait a little bit longer, and therefore you can go for a cheaper option of freight. Yeah, so really that's because there's no one answer fits all. But if you look at all the variety of products we've got here and the projects, just really look at where's your product going, who are you targeting, and how much and where.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Anita. And I think you really hit on an important note that oftentimes as youth students, we take a very short-term approach to many of these problems, trying to just figure out the next step. And it's oftentimes just as important to zoom out and really look at the whole supply chain and the whole long-term project vision that you want to accomplish. So I really want to thank you for hitting on that and all these other various really important tips for these youth that are involved in the more supply chain side of things. With that, I'll move over to Vidya Bertel. And as we've heard from the previous panelists, there's numerous NGOs and other organizations that are excited to work with students, with youth, and other youth organizations. But oftentimes there is this disconnect. So Bidya, I'd like to ask you, what are some of the best practices students or other youth organizations can adopt to best partner with NGOs, both in your experience in Nepal and worldwide? Over to you, Bidya.
Thank you once more, Clark. Well, I'm going to start with a few realizations from my experience with working in the agriculture sector as a practitioner for a long time, and then I will try to zoom into how we can really partner with the innovators like the cases that we've just seen today. So, and the youth agencies, of course. So, I mean, in a context like Nepal, maybe similar to many other countries as well, where the public sector is actually not very, let's say, it's only limited to providing subsidies and basic services, and the private sector is not really very organized. And there's a big room to be that can be filled by NGOs in general. So how I would take it, the approach that I would actually take for that is basically a more of a systemic approach where we try to involve multiple stakeholders, NGOs, youth agencies, So there, I think the youth NGOs and youth organizations in general, they can actually play a very proactive role in connecting all those, elements of the system. So connecting the dots for basically providing a self-sustaining ecosystem for the promotion of the whole thing. So that's where I think in general, the role can be. But at the same time, if you look at the details of the system, there are sections of the market system where we can actually directly intervene and support. And especially where the market system itself is in a very rudimentary stage. If you talk about production, collection, accumulation, trade, even branding and marketing, there's a lot of things that can be already be done. I mean, and more recently, there has been issues around, for example, for coffee, for other entities, for other commodities. The traceability has been a core issue. Together with that, the transparency in the whole chain is always a big issue. So there also, I think we can play a big role and in trying to understand the behavior of the consumers, their awareness level and things like that, and then also provide them the right information about where it comes from, how far can you trace the production and the let's say, practicing of the good agricultural practices, for example, meeting all those trade standards. We can ensure all these elements to the consumer so that actually finally it benefits the actors in the whole system. So this we can, NGOs can actually, and youth agencies can quite nicely do. So the quality is another big issue. Apples, we've seen that. We know that there's a huge potential and everything. The students who just presented from Joomla, I admire the fact that they pinpointed a few of the challenges there, like the post-harvest loss, which is huge. There, I think the things like the technology transfer, the innovations can quite nicely be brought on by NGOs and youth agencies, which really adds value to the whole system. So, I mean, they've talked about storage and all that, where the storage and harvesting and in post-harvest loss is a key thing, like I said. And then, the harvesting transportation is still very, very primitive if you talk about those places like in Nepal. So there we can play a big role. But at the same time, I would have liked to really, I would have been happier if the presenters from Nepal, they have talked more about, how they reduce the post-harvest loss, and that the technology can help do that. And through means, which is basically the solutions that they are provided, I think is quite nice. Nature-based solutions are there. And to add to that, it can also be kind of, designed in a way that it is more circular in terms of the economy of the whole thing. So together with that, one thing which normally people miss out, I think, is the social capital. Yeah, together with the environmental thing, Nepal is very, very prone to migrants. Youths are always migrating. They're moving across the border to India to work for, let's say, major part of the year, going to the Gulf countries for cheap labor and things like that. Migration is really hampering all those agricultural businesses. And sometimes people start saying that, the whole sector of agriculture has started becoming feminized, or, there's a whole lot of terminologies around that. So there are social issues around the whole sector. So that's why, if we can actually build the capital, social capital there on the ground, that can actually be sustainable and that can actually result in benefiting the most marginalized and smallholders, farmers, then that can actually do a lot of good to the whole sector.
Wonderful. Oh,
yeah,
thank you, Vidya.
My time is up, but
yes, just to move on, just
sure.
to make sure that we get everything together. I just wanted to ask one last small question to the panel. In that student, and so I really invite anyone from the panel to respond, that students and youth, they have a large uncertainty over their career, and a lot of youth, especially in the space, want to integrate their passions. And so I was wondering if anyone on the panel had any words of wisdom or inspiration that they could share with the team before we close up and we move over to Miriam to end this session.
Yeah, Anita, yeah, I don't think that's any problem. As I mentioned before, the whole sustainability discussion is very much alive in all businesses. I mean, I work in the corporate world, so I'm not an NGO for my day job, and yeah, it's everywhere. It's definitely the future. All companies these days have their goals that they're working towards. Governments are setting more stricter goals all the time. So there's a lot of room for young people with passion to come through and really drive that, because we need that as well. We need people with that passion to drive it, because that's not always there in the older generations.
I think maybe Clark, if I can add to that, I completely agree with what Anita says, but maybe not words of wisdom, maybe a word of regret, right? In that I don't think there's been a more exciting time to jump into agriculture and our food system. I mean, we've talked about challenges, we talked about obstacles in this conversation, but let's be clear, there's never been better infrastructure and funding and support to get an idea off the ground than there is today. Right? When I look back, when I got into this business 20 years ago, we didn't have things like this. We didn't have this kind of opportunity. So yes, the obstacles remain, but now is the perfect time. And as Anita says, everybody's thinking about this. This is a huge conversation. And so I would just encourage all the younger folk on the call today, jump in, run with your passion. It will serve you well.
I mean, I agree with you, Phil. I always tell young people, I always have someone I'm mentoring or coaching, a young person, and I always say, follow your dream, never ever give up. I mean, I started out as an engineer, but at some point I realized, well, maybe I want to do some economics somewhere in there, but I'm still that engineer. I still look at solving problems, and if you look at your career as a way of solving problems, life problems, your own problems, you will never lack. Thank you.
Yeah, also for me, I mean, fully agree with what the colleagues have said. There's a huge room, huge opportunity for the youths. I also see that, and that for a country like ours, basically, it doesn't have to be. We could change the way we do things through innovations and through technologies like that you have just offered. So there's a room, there's an opportunity, there's a space to do that. So I would say let's go for that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. A big thank you to everyone on the panel. It is wonderful to get some insights about how to really move forward to the future and really how to take youth passions and bring them into the food space. So with that, I will pass it over to Miriam for the closing session of this event.
Yeah, thank you very much, Clark. I think you're also an example for a very impressive youth member of this QING Innovation Track. Congratulations! I really love the way you moderate, and I see a bright future for you. Panel, thank you so much. I've heard so many promising and supportive words. To me, I'm not young anymore, but I got a lot of energy from it already. So I'm sure all the teams are also very happy right now. Having said that, it's been a great journey these few months that we worked with the teams. We had WhatsApp groups. I've seen a lot of pictures coming by and a lot of videos. And thank you to the mentors that were on top of everything. And we're also very young, actually, the King mentors. Yeah, we've not seen them on screen, but maybe I can ask, maybe Peter, are you here? Lars, Tanika? Maybe you can show your face, and so we see they are very young.
Yeah, hello, I'm here. Maybe if I talk, you can see me.
Yes, we can see. I can see you at least. Thank you very much, Tanika. Thank you very much, Lars.
Here. Hello.
Hi, this is Lars, another mentor. From which
Great
team?
Pleasure. Yeah, I've had the pleasure to mentor the Archigen Cloud team.
Great.
Which built that really nice app.
Yeah. Congratulations. And Peter, are you here? I think you had to leave a little bit early, but yeah, thanks the mentors. I'm happy you could see some of them on screen. I think everybody learned a lot. It's been a really nice journey for all of us. But I'm sure you were also wondering now what's next about. So I will share a screen with you. We will not announce the winners right now. I know I've had a lot of questions about it, but we in a few days after this session, I'll meet with the jury and then we will start discussing, because I know it will be a very huge task, because it's very different projects actually. It will be very difficult to compare, but and all of them, they are very impressive, and you've all done it in such a short period. So we will discuss later, and then on September 24th, in 2 days, we will announce the winning team. I'll make sure that we email all the teams and the panel and the jury before we announce it on our website. You can see the link to our website on screen. But anyway, I'll still yeah, you get an email. So the 24th, we will know the winning vlog. Although to me, you are all winners, and I want to tell all the teams, grab these chances, because we've heard all these panel members reaching out to you. So make yourself a winner, no matter if you win this competition or not. It doesn't matter that much. Grab the chances that the companies we're talking about, that the NGOs we're talking about. You have startup communities. Well, if you want to discuss it with me, be welcome. I will be happy to mentor you well throughout your whole further career, actually. But the winning vlog will join the online youth events on the 29th of September. It's an event during the pre-COP 26, sorry. And so it will be an opportunity to show it to an even broader audience. I will share the link to the event in the chat, because everybody can register and participate. Yeah, to all the audience there, organizations, NGOs, contact us if you're interested in talking to one of the teams, and then we will be happy to help you with that. So having said that, I don't want to close until we hear from the jury some last remarks. And yeah, first of all, I want to invite Danush to the stage. Can you give us some last remarks, please?
Yeah, sure, Miriam, I can do that. And thank you so much, everyone. It was very inspiring also for me. But I specifically wanted to thank the participants who've joined us from New Zealand, because I was just looking that it's almost 3 a.m. for you and you're still with us. I mean, that's some commitment, that's some passion. Really, thank you so much for doing this. And I just wanted to share that and acknowledge your contribution. Secondly, like I felt really inspired, and I was just thinking about what Clark said about passion and inspiration. And in my work, we always talk about transformation, and every major organization in the world is talking about transformation, from FAO or CCAPS or FOLU, everyone's talking about that. But to me, in this event, I saw transformative potential there with the people. And transformation is not going to happen if we have a cool technology, if we have some more money. It's going to happen from passion and inspiration. And today I was really inspired. I saw passionate people with ideas that have transformative potential. So I'm just really excited, really enjoyed being here. And I'm really sure that all of you will do things which will transform food systems and society. Thank you.
Thank you, Danush. So Bram, are you there to give your last remarks?
Yes, of course. Well, first of all, a big thanks to everyone involved. It was an honor to be involved with, not personally, but also for King. All the teams, you're actually an example of how ambition and good ideas can really make an impact. And you should see this as a start of something and not the end of an innovation track. But this is actually a start of a new venture, and yeah, we should do this more, I guess. So I hope everyone will enjoy the track, and I hope to see and hear from you in the future. And it doesn't end here, so please keep in contact with our mentors and with King, and we are happy to help you along the way. So thank you.
Thank you, Bram, and thank you, King. So the floor is to Ivo now.
Yeah, I'll take up the baton here. Wow, it was tremendous talent in the call today to everybody, whether young or old. Thanks for contributing here. Let's grab the opportunity, Amir. Yes, but also focus on what all the people in the room. Let's provide that opportunity for the youth to participate. Let's open the world, because we need, and then I'm echoing Bidya with that, we need the social capital and all the talent to solve our challenges. So we have to work together, and we have to do it with everybody. And then to the participants, there can only be one winner of the innovation track, but whether it be organic farming, digital solutions, biotechnology, and everything we saw today, we all need those different solutions. There's no single bullet. So whoever might win the competition, we need the other solutions too. In combination with your talent, I see the future a bit brighter as of today. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much, Ivo. And with these beautiful words from the jury, I want to end this session. I will close it, and yeah, we'll get back to you on the 24th in a few days with the results. Thank you very much.